is that while we're talking about this topic of rights in Islam, there's another side that we also need to equally pay attention to um, in marriage, especially, but in all relationships, which is a duty or responsibility. So, um, the duty or responsibility is what we owe to the other person or the other party of the contract or of the relationship. So a right is something that we receive, and a duty is something that we owe or that we give, right? So in marriage, and as the Sheikh Saif um, correctly said and wisely said, is that a marriage should not be focused on rights, because it can become first of all, it is definitely a sign that someone that the relationship is lacking in some way, because the rights are the minimum things that we would do for each other in a marriage, since in this context. And the duty would be the best or the highest that we can do in a marriage. So just to put things into context, um, uh, a right, for example, the right of the wife is for her to be taken care of or provided for, and so a husband would provide her with basic food, clothing, shelter, medical requirements, um, and there are other. We can get a little deeper into it as we go along, but these are some basic rights: to be treated with kindness, um, and with respect. But the husband should be focusing on his duty. How can he best fulfill her rights and exceed or go beyond the basic rights? And likewise for the wife, she also should be thinking the same way, that the husband's basic rights is that the wife cooperate with him, and that she listen to him and obey uh, his instructions, as long as it does not go against Allah's commands or her basic dignity or well-being. So this is the basic right of a husband, but a wife should not only reduce herself to just obedience and obeying him, but she should look for ways to make her husband happy, to assist him, to help him in his meeting his duty and his obligation, and his vision for the family. So the point that I'm making here is that the rights of marriage are the bare minimum requirement that we owe to each other. But the duty of marriage is how you attain the sweetness and the best part of marriage, when we give our best to each other and not just solely focus on what we must and have to do for each other. So hopefully that I just wanted to put that out there as a backdrop, because we will be discussing um, talking a lot tonight about the rights, but I want to make it clear that these rights that we're talking about is a baseline, and not the ultimate um, height of marriage, or the goal of marriage is not just to fulfill the rights, but also to do the best in fulfilling the duties of our role in marriage. Any questions or comments about that? Anyone else would like to add on or make any give any reflections about that? Hey, alhamdulillah. Okay, so as we can see from the slide, it's kind of divided into two sections of husband and wife. And it's talking about the rights of husband and the rights of the wife. And first of all, if we were to start with um, the husband is owed obedience, or he has a right to obedience, that his wife should, uh, she should not challenge him unnecessarily, or I would say even oppose him, um, even in daily matters, or I would say general matters, so long as he does not go against the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or ask or order something from her which goes against her basic dignity, self-respect, or well-being, right? So that means basically, as long as it's a reasonable request, the wife should obey her husband. The husband is also the primary provider for the wife, that the husband owes to the wife, that he should provide for her physical and emotional needs. So that includes her needs for food, clothing, and shelter, especially if the wife is does not work for herself and she doesn't have any income. The husband should provide for her a decent standard of living, enough, food for her to eat, to sustain basic health, and of course, if possible, he should, treat her nicely and give her nice foods to eat, things that are healthy, things that are also enjoyable for her, and also shelter. So food, clothing, and shelter. I think I mentioned food and shelter. So clothing also, he should provide for her decent clothing according to his ability, right? So if the husband is well-to-do and he has the ability and the means to provide better, then he should afford his wife a decent standard of living, and he should make sure that she's well taken care of. Also, if the wife has any medical needs or illnesses that come up, that the husband should see to it that she receives the medical attention that she needs, and that she's also taken care of in that regard as well. The husband has a duty to educate his wife and to give some type of tarbiyah, and also to make sure that his wife is growing and learning about Deen, not only through through reading and learning about the Deen, but also in character, in helping her to improve in her character and his character through following the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and of course our mothers, studying about the Sirah, studying about the revelation of Quran and the Hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to the best of his ability. As far as the wife going out to school to study, or even to work, that's something negotiable. Not every marriage is the same. Some marriages, the husband would prefer the wife to stay home and he provide these things for her, or she can use virtual if they have access to internet and classes on virtual classes, things of that nature, that she can either work and or study in that way. Or otherwise, the husband would be responsible for fulfilling those needs of his wife. Going down the line, to be forgiving and kind, that a husband has a responsibility of treating his wife with kindness and to be gentle with her, and not to be hard or harsh with her, and to mistreat her, but rather that the husband should always, you know, follow the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his treatment of his wife, and not treat her as his slave or subject, but rather as his helpmate, that she's someone to be respected, and she should be listened to, especially if she has concerns or complaints, that the husband should not just shut her down and shut her up, but rather he should listen to her and take into serious consideration what her complaints or whatever the matter is, and that he should seek her advice, which is also strong sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And some of us may recall the situation of Hudaybiyah, when the Muslims were about to enter into Mecca to make Umrah, but they were met with resistance from the Meccans at that time. They did not want to allow the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Muslims to enter into Mecca to perform Umrah. And so the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam entered into a treaty with the Meccans at that time. It's called the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. But the Muslims were not happy with this decision. And so many of them became even angry that the Muslims came to this extent to perform Umrah, and they were denied. And so the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam took counsel from his wife, and she told the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or advised him, that he should just go out and take off his ihram and don't say anything. And slowly, the Muslims, the Sahaba, they followed the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam despite their dissatisfaction with the outcome. They eventually submitted. So this is just one example of how a husband can take advice or counsel from his wife, especially in matters where there's, the husband is unsure of how to handle a situation. His wife is his mate and his partner, and he should respect her as such. The husband should be gentle with his wife, meaning that if there is a need for correction, or if there is a need for redirection, that he should do so respectfully. His wife is a adult, and she also has an ego. Ego is not only something unique to men. Even women desire to be respected and honored, and to have some izzah, some honor. She doesn't want to be belittled or talked down to, especially in public. So husbands should be gentle with her. Bismillah. Sounds like someone has a comment. Okay. Committed. Husband should be committed to his wife. First and foremost, he should be committed to Allah and His Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And secondly, he should be committed to his marriage, meaning that the husband should be loyal. And as we mentioned in the ayat above, to lower his gaze and protect his chastity, his modesty. Bismillah, Brother Saif, you have something?
A quick note. There are times when my wife is more of an expertise in the matter than I am.
Yes.
Do not encroach on her knowledge and her authority. She knows. Yes. It might be that some of you sisters may marry a brother that you might be smarter than, or have more knowledge across the board. So you have the art of negotiating the male ego is something a sister has to know.
MashaAllah. Well spoken, mashallah. Sister Khadija, did you have something?
Yes, I think you sort of hit on what it said. I'm just taking a little bit of notes. When you was mentioning the parts where um he is to guide her, teach
Yes.
her Islam, but
Yes.
there are brothers, not referring to my husband, that actually needs to be taught. He cannot teach what he does not know. How
Correct.
can he teach his wife if he's not educated and not willing to learn?
Yes.
Because
SubhanAllah.
there are some brothers don't want to learn, they feel they know it all, and what they know may be taught incorrectly, and you
SubhanAllah.
can't get past that point.
SubhanAllah. SubhanAllah. Allahumma musta'an. Well, this is a very important point. Um, the brothers, the husbands, have a responsibility first to seek knowledge. Um, Husbands, as one of the responsibilities that a husband has, um, especially if he's going to take on the role of imam in his home and in his marriage, that he must seek sound knowledge from reliable sources. That includes attending classes, that includes having personal teachers, people who are of sound knowledge. And a husband should, for himself also, um, you know, continue to learn. Just because a husband may be knowledgeable and have, attain a certain degree of knowledge, his journey of learning and gaining knowledge never ends. And he should continue to learn and to sharpen himself, not only on, uh, you know, knowledge, external knowledge, meaning um, reading and studying books, but also character development and practicing humility, practicing patience, practicing gentleness and kindness. He should fast. He should be doing many things to not only increase in um, uh, I would call it learning the primary sources, which is Quran and Sunnah, but there's a certain knowledge of the spiritual development that also must take place. And the husband should be first and foremost working on himself and also helping his family. In a case where a husband is not as learned as he may think he is, or if he's flat out wrong about something, then the wife should give nasiha. She should be, in a gentle way, try to share information with her husband. If she knows her husband and she knows that correcting him is not likely to work if it comes from her, then she may seek assistance from someone he respects. So if he has a family member that she knows that he would listen to, perhaps she could seek um, assistance through a family member. But she has to be very careful because you don't want a wife does not want to undermine her husband. And again, a male ego is very sensitive. So you have to be careful with this and be wise. You know, perhaps you can play a lecture about the topic and put it on in a way where the husband can hear what is being said. And she doesn't have to say a word. She can just let the speaker speak on the topic and ask her husband, what did you think about what he said? I heard Sheikh so-and-so say this. What do you think about that? And give her husband a chance to come to the conclusion. She can guide him in a roundabout way. And this is in the case where the husband may not be open to correction. If the husband is a man who's who is secure within himself and can accept correction, even if it's from his wife, then she should be more direct and she can have that conversation and engage her husband. But again, this depends on the relationship. Some husbands are more accepting than others. Some are more humble than others. So a wife has to be wise in how she manages that situation. So hopefully, I hope that answers the question or the concern. Alhamdulillah. Any other comments about that or advice about that?
Yeah, I say whenever there's a class on navigating the male ego, sign me up.
Allahumma
I got
salli.
my notebook ready.
Allahumma salli. Yes, the male ego is a sensitive thing. Sheikh Saif, you have any advice on this?
Assalamu alaikum, let me help him.
Wa alaikum salam. Barakatullah.
He's snoozing now, so I'm going to take advantage of this moment. Anyway, you know, although woman is not, we don't have to cook or clean everything, just the man's job, how a husband going to provide this and that. However, if we play a little sweetness, kindness, gentleness, surprise, and make him special dinner, before we talk about things that he can improve, he can learn, or he can join in the masjid, bribe him a little bit, and then soften his heart and wait for the right timing to talk about it, and for a walk or something, even buy him some ice cream. Hey, we have something to talk about, would like to hear, have some suggestion, instead of just push into his ear and his throat, and it's just hard, knowing men how they are. Just my little advice, inshallah. Forgive me.
Yes, we men are pretty simple. I think women have enough tools and enough gifts in order to turn a cat around and sweeten the guy up. So it's not hard.
Well said, mashallah. Mashallah, mashallah. Yes, I agree with both of these. Included is knowing his rights and her rights before trying to guide her in the family. Yes. The husband should educate himself. And of course, as it was mentioned, that he should be open to correction, because the reality is we're all a work in progress. None of us know it all. As much as we think we know, we don't know it all, and we can all be corrected. Even sometimes our children can correct us. But it's all about how to do it and being wise in the timing and knowing the circumstance. If you know that this may be something sensitive, then of course you want to make sure you do your best to have the right setting and circumstances. Definitely, this should not be done publicly. I'm a big advocate for addressing things behind closed doors. And there is an adab with giving nasiha. Nasiha, or advice or counsel, should be given privately. It should be done with a sense of sensitivity. And it should be done in a way that is most likely to be accepted and received by the person receiving nasiha. So all of these things we have to consider and take into account. And wives, you know your husband's better than anyone else. So you know what he likes and doesn't like. So try to approach him in a way that he would accept it, inshallah. Okay, honoring. Husband honors the family by being a good representative, by earning an honest living, by being charitable, by treating people well, by keeping his word and his trust, fulfilling the rights, and in general, conducting himself in a respectable way. This brings honor to the family. And of course, learning Quran and being a leader in the community, all of these things bring honor and respect to the family. And the wife also, she should protect her chastity and her modesty. She should not go out in such a way that draws men's attention. She should not backbite or spread rumors and get involved in all kind of mess, just be messy. Those are things that dishonor the family. But a woman or wife and husband, for that matter, who remember Allah often and his messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam often, and who find themselves busy in doing good and helping others, these are the things that bring honor and respect to the family. Modesty, of course, as I just mentioned, that husband and wife should dress modestly and be clean, and to dress in a way that is in line with Allah's commands and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Respect, as I mentioned, should be given, and we should respect each other, right? So respect starts at home. The husband and wife should respect each other. They should not raise voices at each other and yell at each other. The respect, this is a big one. I'm going to give Sister Azizzah a chance, and then we'll come back to respect, because that one I think deserves some more attention. Bismillah, Sister Azizzah.
Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
So my question is, what about seeking advice through bad times from family? Typically, you want to keep your business private and things like that, but how does that apply when you are basically looking to close relatives for assistance, or may even just be expressing how you're feeling to your family, and also if they're not Muslim? Inshallah.
Inshallah. So let's imagine that there's a married couple going through difficult times. You're going through challenging times. Again, it goes back to if you have family relatives that are fair and just, and who have both the best interests of both people at heart, right? Because sometimes, unfortunately, family members side with their own relative, be it right or wrong. A person who sides with their relative because of the blood relation and not because of justice and fairness is not a good advisor or counselor, because this person is partial or prejudiced towards their relative. This type of person, I personally would not advise to take them as a advisor to help you navigate issues, because I think it would only further complicate things. Or if there's a family member that the husband or wife have an adversarial relationship with, it may not be well received. The family member should be someone who wants the marriage to work and be successful, and who can be fair and impartial and not take blood relation as an advantage over the other person. In the case where the family members are non-Muslims, there's some aspects that are, I would say, life lessons or life advice that is not religious advice, right? So say, for example, this family member has a skill set. They are good with finances, and you and your husband are having financial issues. You can take financial advice from a family member, whether they're Muslim or non-Muslim, doesn't matter. Or if they're skilled at some other skill set, then certainly we can take from them. But if it comes to religious advice, my advice would be to seek counsel from someone within Islam who can properly guide us through our religious issues. I mean, if one of the persons may be reaching out to on their own. So let's say a sister calls her sister or brother calls his sister, etc. Again, my answer would be the same. If this person can be fair and just and not take preference just because you're a relative, this is a person who can tell you, sis, I love you, but I'm sorry. In this case, you are wrong. Your husband is correct, right? If you have that kind of sister or brother who can tell you, bruh, man, you know I got your back. We go down like 4 flats, but in this situation, you are wrong, bro. If he can do that for you, then this is a good advisor. This is a person who is fair and just. But again, if it goes to matters of faith or religion, then I would say it's probably best to seek counsel from someone within the community. Bismillah, Sister Julie.
So correct me if I'm mistaken, but I don't have the hadith in front of me. But there is a hadith, I believe, that speaks to not exposing your spouse's flaws, mistakes, failures, right? So it's a very delicate when you're going to seek advice from family or friends or outside, right? So if you're calling your brother or your sister to be like, look, I need to vent, my husband's making me mad, my wife is making me mad, you know, this is going on, that's really just a gossip session. It's emotional support, right? But at the expense of what, right? Exposing, you know, your spouse that might taint their opinion or image of that person. But to sincerely seek guidance, right? I think that's the point in why we would want to try to seek from a Muslim or Islamic perspective, right? Because we want to actually succeed in our marriage and not just kind of get that emotional solace.
Jazakallah khair. Yes. And again, just to reinforce what Sister Julie said, the advice seeking should be for the purpose of improving your situation, not just exposing your spouse's shortcomings, or to, as Sister Julie rightfully said, to get into a gossip session or some kind of backbiting where, you know, you get into this situation where you're just talking, not seeking counsel or advice, but really you're just venting, or you're just trying to make yourself look good and make your spouse look bad. This is not something pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whether the family member is a Muslim or non-Muslim, doesn't matter. This would fall into the category of namima or ghiba, backbiting or tale-bearing. And this is something displeasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sister Maya, Bismillah.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. From Surah An-Nisa, ayah number 35, there's a reminder for both couple, if they're going through something that's difficult to handle, to seek the arbitrator or professional hakim or the judge, as a specialized in Islamic marriage. In other words, we can find the Islamic mediator for couple. And the best advice from me and old lady, avoid discussing, sharing with your family friends, because then it will end up to backbiting and slandering. because we're just a human being. They will just feel and feel more. Oh, really? Oh my gosh, I don't believe he did that. What else did it? It just go on and on and on, and then the shaitan come in. And so if we can just hire, pay privately a professional mediator, it doesn't have to be a Muslim if you can find, we share with them the value in what it is in Islamic marriage. Inshallah, I think that would be better to than sharing, even with our children, our parents, neighbor. In fact, that's something that you must avoid. Remember, because our spouse is the garments, the garments. Like, if anyone of you remember or had this experience, like when I walk into a clothing store, I'm looking for, I don't know what I'm looking for, and I look for something, I don't even find anything, I walk out. It's better. It's like looking for a garment that I think I'm going to wear to my Hawaii trip next week, but I can't find something that works. I don't find the blue, white color that I love. And it's better to not to buy the garments that you think it might work. Yeah, let's try. And if it doesn't fit, you can return. You can't do that in the marriage. So the garments here, the spouse that protect your embarrassment and your everything, and also that he feel comfortable with you, you feel comfortable with him. You feel safe, you feel beautiful with them. You want to show her around, bring her, wear her everywhere you want, instead of hiding. I'm too embarrassed to bring her because she always has something come out from her mouth without she thinking and embarrass me. And so she will not go for my dinner anymore with my cousin or parents. So let's avoid that, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. And Jazakallah khair, excellent advice. And one other thing I would add to that, and I would caution everyone, what I have seen and experienced is that sometimes when couples go through difficulty, as we all do, and you call a relative to vent, right? Oh, can you believe what my husband did this time? Oh, can you believe what my wife did this time? And you and your family members get going and talking, about all of the dirty laundry that is going on in the household. And then what happens is the husband and wife reconcile. They say, you know what? This is not worth it. We love each other. We're going to keep going. We're not going to divorce. We're going to stay together. What happens is that the husband and wife want to move forward. But now all of the dirty laundry that they aired out with the family members, now the family members are against the marriage. Oh, I can't believe you're going back to this person. They did this, they did that. I don't ever want them coming to my house again. I can't believe this and this and that, so on and so forth. So you have to be careful, because your family, even though the married couple can make up and decide to go forward, sometimes the family can't get over it. And they will never forget what that person did to my daughter, to my son, to my sister, my brother. And it can really create a division in the family and create a hardship in the marriage. So be careful of who you involve in your personal matters and how much detail you go into. And certainly, don't engage in backbiting and slandering your spouse, because, not only is it not good for the marriage, it's not good for ourselves, and we will be held accountable for that too. And may Allah protect us. Okay. I think this is a good stopping point, because Maghrib is in, and I don't want us to miss the prayer. Is there any last comments or questions or corrections that anyone would like to make before we wrap up tonight, inshallah? I know we tried to cover a lot, and we really, it's tough to get through these things in just an hour or less than an hour. So we're really just scratching the surface on some of these things, but hopefully it will be beneficial for us to think about these and do further personal study on our own, and hopefully with your spouse together, so that the two of you can come to agreement on some of these topics. Okay, Tayyib, alhamdulillah. So with that, inshallah, we'll end tonight's session. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik, wa ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, wa astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Wal asr innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihati wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah khair.